There's something here. Let's have a look. So there's been a lot of preparation. What does it say? So this is ABC News. We've been getting a lot of emails asking if we're going to cover the Samantha Murphy, the Ballarat jogger who went missing on February the 4th, 2024. So Ballarat reporter Laura Mayers joins this. Oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's listen to this. Sorry, I'm not going now. I'm not going. Not just yet. We're just going to cast that hopefully will tell us what is happening with Samantha Murphy's case. This is from a day ago. So there's been a lot of court mentions and things. Patrick's been in court, but it's almost like the preparation for the case. So let's listen.
And more.
Samantha Murphy disappeared in 2024 while running near her home in Ballarat. Patrick Stephenson was charged with her murder. The trial was set to start in April, but as usual with court, not everything goes to the original timeline. I'm Stephen Stockwell. This is the case of.
The 51-year-old was last seen leaving her home on Eureka Street for a trail run in the Woowakarung Regional Park.
On February 4th, Ms Murphy left her Ballarat East home for her regular Sunday morning workout, but never returned.
Police say she had her mobile phone and was wearing a watch with GPS tracking.
Mum, we love you so much and we miss you.
Ballarat man Patrick Orren Stephenson was arrested and charged with Ms Murphy's murder.
A few times a week, we get an email asking if we'll be covering the trial of the man accused of murdering Samantha Murphy in Ballarat, Patrick Stephenson. And in short, the answer is yes. But because so many of you are interested in this trial, we wanted to explain where it is all up to at the moment. And to help us along, I'm very pleased to be joined by ABC reporter Laura Mayers. Laura, welcome to the case of.
Stocky, thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate having you here for this episode to kind of unpack what's happening with the trial around Patrick Stephenson, the man accused of murdering Samantha Murphy in Ballarat. Because, you know, when you look online, as a lot of Case Off listeners have done, you see a trial date set for April. Now, that period has obviously passed. We've had a lot of emails coming in saying, hey, you're going to cover this trial. What's happening? Laura, this trial hasn't started yet, has it?
Yes, I can confirm that trial has not commenced at this stage.
Yeah. And I mean, you are watching very closely. You're based in Ballarat for the ABC and you reported on this story when Samantha Murphy went missing. Can you just give us a quick reminder of what happened?
So Samantha Murphy, mother of three, 51-year-old, went missing on February 4th, and that's 2024. She went for a run and failed to return home. There were several searches, multiple searches over the days and weeks following her disappearance. She was never found. And in March, a man was arrested and charged. That was one count of murder. That was Patrick Stephenson. On November 14, 2024, Mr. Stephenson entered a not guilty plea to that one charge.
And Laura, who is Patrick Stephenson?
So Patrick Stephenson was 22 when he was arrested and charged with that one count of murder. He's currently 24. He's from the Ballarat region and he is the son of an AFL footballer. And we know that he was pretty active in sports groups in the region as well.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Laura. And I mean, as you mentioned, Patrick Stephenson, arrested and charged a couple of years ago now. Where's this trial up to?
Yeah, so there's no date that has been set yet. Previously, we had reported that it was expected the trial was going to commence in June this year, but we are currently working through the pre-trial process at the moment.
Got it. And through this pre-trial process, I remember this from following the trial of Aaron Patterson, we are really quite restricted on what we can actually talk about during this time, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right. So we're currently operating under the sub judice rules. So that is...
Yeah, so this is explaining why, although there are pre-trial motion hearings going on, and we can see that Patrick is appearing in court because he's in the court lineups that the court sort of releases, but nobody's allowed to report on anything. So apparently this happened in the lead up to the Erin Patterson trial as well. Maybe I just didn't notice it at the time, I don't know, but it's very frustrating, isn't it? It must be terrible for the family, because it's bad enough for us who just want to, get some justice for Samantha, but we didn't know Samantha. You feel like the families go through torment, don't they? The poor families of these victims. I hope they're being looked after okay, like with help, like psychological help and things. They have to wait for years for to find out what's going on. It's awful. I really do think in true crime all over the world, from what I can gather, victims' families and victims, of course, if they actually survive whatever's happened to them, they're just not given the priority. The priority is always given to the perpetrator. Now, I know everyone's innocent until proven guilty, and we have to, that is a bedrock of our society. But sometimes you just think, just think about, it just seems, why does it take so long? This is over 2 years.
It's under judicial consideration, everything that makes up the basis of this charge. Basically, nothing within that can be publicly discussed. But what I can say is in Melbourne, these pretrial hearings, and obviously the basis of that is that one charge of murder.
Yeah, got it. And when these hearings are on, I think we can talk about who's in the room for these hearings, if, the hearing's adjourned for a certain date, things like that. But yeah, speaking of, I guess, who's in those hearings, in the last couple of kind of pretrial hearings that have happened, Patrick Stephenson's been represented by this one barrister. But prior to kind of these last 3 or 4 hearings, his barrister had been Moira O'Brien. Is that right?
So previously we had been hearing from barrister Moira O'Brien. Now we are hearing from Theo Casamatis, who has been a silk since 2016. He's been practicing for over 20 years, and we've been hearing from him in the pretrial hearings.
Got it, yeah. And, I mean, there's a whole bunch of pretrial hearings that happen. There's all sorts of things that are discussed in that. And as you mentioned, Laura, this trial was originally, there was a date that was in some reporting of April. Obviously, we're past April at this point. Can you talk to us about any of the reasons for that delay?
The short answer is no. So there are a lot of different reasons why, what makes up these pretrial hearings.
No, you can't even talk about the delays or anything. So, because this trial was supposed to start on April the 8th. That's when it was programmed to start. And since then, I'm glad they've done this little podcast, because at least it explains to us. I've looked every day ever since then for some news about what's going on. I look all the time. I'm in the Facebook groups, you name it, because Samantha Murphy's case, for me, is one that I feel very strongly about. This woman, she was out having a jog on a Sunday morning, doing the most normal thing that she should have been able to do safely, and something happened to her. Somebody murdered her, or so the police say. Of course, her body hasn't been found, has it? But, so it's Patrick was arrested. Some people think he's not guilty. Well, maybe he isn't. But we don't know what the evidence is yet. And I just think, apparently there's an unprecedented amount of evidence against Patrick. Maybe that's why it's taking so long to sift through it. They've got to decide what can be allowed, what can't be allowed. Maybe that's the reasons, one of the reasons why it is taking so long, due to all the evidence that's got to be processed, So I think, anyway, what you're saying there, David, so of course this was a drawing of Patrick in one of his trial hearings, and then I watched him on video, and he had one of those big bushy Muslim sort of beards that don't go all the way up to your ears. And I don't think he'll have that when he goes to court. I think when he goes to court, he'll be like the all-Australian boy, short hair, clean shaven, like he was in his earlier pictures, I think, I bet he does the clean cut look. That's what I would say. Can't imagine him going into court for a murder trial like with that, with the beard. I think he'd be more like this, which is his clean cut look. This is why some people don't believe that Patrick did it. Not because they haven't seen the evidence yet or anything. Because, we can't have done it because he's an all-American, all-Australian boy, isn't he? He had a girlfriend and he had a social life and he had a job and, he's one of them, but they walk amongst us, don't they? As we know. Let's just hear the end of this now.
And there's a lot of different reasons why there might be a delay. It could be the sort of the availability of the parties, the barristers, those involved, the availability of the judge. There are discussions that need to happen when it comes to evidence, any kind of evidence, any kind of witnesses that might be presenting evidence, and none of which we can actually go into, as I said, because of those rules of sub judice. So we cannot discuss them publicly. There are a lot of restrictions on reporting when it comes to pre-trial hearings for good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of these pre-trial hearings we will be able to talk about at the end of the trial once that point arrives. But at this point, we're up to.
Do you know what? This is going to be a bit like the Erin Patterson trial, isn't it? Because I think, because they haven't got Samantha's body, and of course they won't have CCTV of Patrick actually murdering Samantha, there rarely is, that sort of proof. This is going to be a similar case to Erin's, whereas there'll be a lot of circumstantial evidence. I doubt very much that they've actually got a photo of him putting Samantha's body in the boot or anything like that. But they'll have lots. Apparently they've got 400 pieces of evidence against him. So what they'll be doing is preparing this case very carefully to put all these different chunks of the jigsaw together to present it to try and get the prosecution. This is, of course, to try and get a guilty verdict. Whereas, of course, the defence will be doing the same thing, but to try and get a not guilty verdict. So it's probably going to be a very complicated, very long trial if he doesn't change his, if he doesn't change his plea and he carries on with the not guilty, and if Samantha's body's not found, it's going to be difficult.
In the process, we can't go into any of this, and we're really quite restricted in what we can talk about. Basically, that there are hearings underway, who's at them, and Laura, as you mentioned, where they are, because these hearings are being held at the moment in Melbourne at the Supreme Court. Laura, is there anything else you can give us around the timing or the process for the trial of Patrick Stephenson?
Not at this stage, but I will say that we are keeping on it very closely.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a Teams chat that we're regularly in touch with Laura in, talking about where things are up to with this trial, and we'll certainly keep you up to date with the progress of the trial of Patrick Stephenson, the man accused of murdering Samantha Murphy in Ballarat in 2024. Laura, thank you so much for joining us and giving us this up.
So this is just from yesterday. I'm very glad that they did that podcast, because I was starting to think, am I going crazy or something? I can't find any news about this at all, except on the Facebook groups. They have been talking about it and saying there's been these court things happening in court, because his name is there, quite regularly appearing in court. Well, I don't know if he's actually appearing, but, it'll be to discuss this case, what evidence they can allow, what they can't allow, what witnesses, what, the defence will be chucking things out, it's those kind of things. But I tell you what, when this trial finally starts, if he keeps up this plea of not guilty, it's going to be it's going to be like a mammoth trial, isn't it? It's going to be the mushroom murder trial all over again. I think maybe I need to have a break now before it happens. So prepare for that whenever it happens. The trouble is we don't even know when the trial's going to start. It may probably be over the summer, because of course it's not summer in Australia, Like if that was Spain now, you would be looking at that. It wouldn't happen till September now because we're coming into the summer. But of course, it's winter in Australia, isn't it? So it's likely to happen maybe June or something like that. We'll see. Yeah, you're very secretive over there in Australia with your cases, Sean. Which is, listen, I don't care as long as I understand why they do it and I agree with it. Don't want cases getting thrown out. I don't know if you know about the Murdoch case, Alex Murdoch, who murdered his wife and his son, and probably other people as well, pile of bodies behind that person. His conviction's just been thrown out. He's as guilty as the day's long, but thrown out because of a court officer being indiscreet and saying things that she shouldn't have said. And, sometimes you can have too much disclosure, I think. But it would be nice to have maybe something a little bit in the middle. I find in Australia they're very secretive. But that is what makes me know that the fact that those Australian police in the Gus Lamont case came out and said this is a serious crime. We don't believe he wandered off. We believe we have a suspect, etc. They wouldn't have said that, except they're certain of it. Otherwise they wouldn't have said it in the first place. In my opinion, anyway. Okay, so I am going now. I've sort of stayed on a bit longer. I'm going to split that video. I'm going to release that bit about Samantha Murphy. So, because I know a lot of you are waiting for the Samantha Murphy trial. We want resolution to that case. It's gone on 2 years, and her poor family, they need to know. She had 3 children. She was only in her 50s, early 50s. A lot of people say, oh, well, he was just a young lad. He wouldn't do that to an older woman. Honestly, people have no idea. But, you just think, yeah, oh, right, okay. But anyway, I am definitely going. So, the most pressing thing at the moment is, please God, let the police find something at this homestead. They're over there in Yunta. That means that some justice can be brought for little Gus Lamont. These are the most children and old people. They're the most vulnerable in our society, aren't they? The thing is, every case that we talk about is shocking, isn't it? No matter whether it's an adult like Samantha Murphy just going for a run, whether it's a little boy like Gus in the care of the people who should care about him, love him, or whether it's Samantha going off for an early morning run on a Sunday morning to train for a marathon and then looking forward to a family brunch. And then, of course, we've got little Preston. This is one that's haunting me as well at the moment. This little one, left at the mercy of 2 adoptive parents who were just monsters, it seems like, allegedly. So, yeah, prayers for all of them that they get resolved and some justice is found in all of them. And, look after yourself. You are the most important person. Give yourself a break. Eat something nice, drink something nice, or whatever floats your boat. Whatever. As long as it's legal, as long as it's more or less legal. Oh. Thank you, Sean. I'm always low on tissues. In fact, you know what? I've got to buy some tissues. I'm using loo roll at the moment, tissues. Just never ends, does it? And then hopefully we'll find out something about Nancy Guthrie as well. So many cases that we need some news on, don't we? We need some news. we're waiting for quite a lot of cases, and you know what will happen? They'll all break all at once, and then I won't be able to keep up with everything that's going on. But thank you so much, Sean. That's really kind. So yeah, take care. See you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. And don't forget, like, subscribe, press notifications. Thank you. Bye.